Hello, I'm Robert Toomey. In this tutorial, I'm going to focus on the current state of outputting products with RAPIO. I'll cover the multi-output ability since that varies from how the current WOODS 2 MRMS HMET algorithms work. So let's get started. In this tutorial, I already have a full build of RAPIO, including MRMS. If you don't have one ready to use, you can look at the first tutorial for some help and tricks on doing that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go look at the RAPIO settings or configuration folder. This is similar to like the W2 config location with MRMS, but I want to look at the settings file. Now, you're probably familiar with the data format file in MRMS, which was kind of a primitive. It worked kind of, but it didn't have the ability to do plugins. We had the things like the Nextcdf router, for instance, have dynamic plugin ability, but RAPIO expands upon that to where every reader writer is basically that's complicated is a loadable module. This saves memory, and it means it only has to load it if it actually needs it. So if I look at the Netcdf one here, for instance, I've got Netcdf and Netcdf3. These are the fields that you see in the FML file. So when you see like Netcdf and then you have a path, this is basically the builder that's called. And under that, we have the settings for that particular builder. So here I've got a few flags for Netcdf right now in RAPIO, but there'll be more later. I've also got an image module, basically uses image magic. And right now I've set it to do PNGs, 200 by 200, and I've got a 1 degree spacing from the center of the radial set. So that's just an easy shortcut way of defining a lat long box for projecting. I also have a GDAL. The GDAL right now is set to do it's using the GeoTiff driver, GDAL, and it's set to write a GeoTiff with a prefix of TIF. And it's 1000 by 1010 degrees out. But this can all be configured in the file is the point. And then I have a grid module down here. So let's take a better look at actually now how this is actually used. So we'll go look into our example algorithm. And let me show you the run multi.sh. And basically what I've got here is, this is the thing that differs from MRMS as well. In MRMS, you have the -o and you have a folder name, right? Well, imagine now just putting netcdf equals in front of that folder name. So netcdf equals / my output. Basically, what you can do is you can actually define the builder that you want, and you can also list multiples. So here in this example, what I've got is I'm actually telling it to write out a netcdf file in this relative folder, an image file in this folder, and a GDAL file in this folder. And from the RAPIO settings, we have those set to do a GeoTiff, a PNG, and a netcdf. So if I run this guy now, you'll see it going along. And if you pay attention, you can actually see that you have image writer settings, and it's showing you it's running. It's got GDAL settings, and I think, yeah, the netcdf is also showing up too, showing the setting it's using to write. So this will take I think it'll take a minute or so to run. So I'm going to pause and come right back. Okay, welcome back. So it took about a minute to run that, but I spared you that. So if we finish writing that output, so what I do is I process the data set, and we created this KTLX all output. So if I look at this, you'll see that you got to code in XFAM, and you've got the and the reflectivity folder. But if we look in here, we see the FAM files. Since I told it to write all to the same folder, in this particular case, they're all squished together. But the one difference you can see is that I've got this image and GDAL, say, at the end. And the reason why is because if you're processing the same file and writing out multiple outputs of the same file, your FML files will overwrite each other if this part didn't exist. So this had to be enhanced to add that on there. So I will look at a FAM file just to kind of give you an idea. So here we have image, which is the builder that it's writing out. And it tells it what plugin or loader that works. And then this is the parameter that gets passed to it, which in this case is a PNG file. So this tells basically what wrote it out and the time space information for it. And if we go look at the actual files in the output directory, this will look familiar to you if you use the WOODSy, or at least MRMS. You got your reflectivity and you got your subtype, so like 0 or 1.45 degrees. And you'll notice the difference is you've got a bunch of stuff in here. You got Netcdf files, but you also have PNGs and you have TIFs. If I just do a file in PNG, it'll show you that. And I believe I've got TIFF info on here. Let's just check out our GeoTiff real quick just to see what it says. And you'll notice here it's 1000 by 1000 because that's what we had set in that file, in the RAPIO settings file. And this is a data GeoTiff, so I've actually got the actual data going out, not the color bands. But you can see the projection system, for instance. These tags here are the typical GeoTiff tags that you expect to see. So we could also just run one single one. Like let's say we go into the PNG one, and I've got this one going to PNG2. Well, I could go back and change those settings and do it, or I can just run it. And if you just do one, this one should be quite a bit quicker because I'm just writing 200 by 200 PNGs, which are kind of tiny. Yep, so it just took like 9 seconds for that. And I think that's about it. So I covered the -O. The -O basically is extended. So if we can look at the help on this, so we look at the... Right, so it has basically multiple routers. It extends it on there. So that's the only major change so far, that plus the RAPIO settings. The debate right now is depending on what should be a global setting versus what should be on the command line. I could see the -O allowing you to do things like set your output folder and then maybe even have your output folder and then have other settings. Maybe we come up with some format or something that you could actually do if you wanted to actually override it and pass it directly on the command line. So if you're doing something crazy like where you want to change it very fast, so that may be something in the future that could be added. So let's just look at the PNG output too. Let me switch over to that. So here we got a single image that was generated by the PNG or the image writer output. And if you use the ImageMagick like convert command with a delay, say on that folder, you could actually create like a little movie. And this is like an example of what that would look like. But since it's ImageMagick, any of the ImageMagick formats it supports, like PNG, JPEG, any other format you want, you could change it and it would recognize it and then just automatically do that output. Also, the GDAL output, any of the GDAL outputs that it is possible to do, that plugin could be configured to output. So you've got access to hundreds of formats with that as well. The one last thing, let's look at the, here's QGIS. This is like a open source ArcGIS clone. This is more of it for the GIS people, who are people interested in GIS. I've got a map of Oklahoma in here, and I've got a little dem file that I've loaded for the county or whatever. And basically what I've done is I've taken one of those GeoTiff outputs and I've put it into the program with a symbology grid. So this is just basically, I can give you an idea of what you can do. So what I've done is I've generated that May 3rd output and created an image. So you can see the potential for stuff like this. And these individual plugins are actually kind of cool because they're actually, each one is maybe a couple hundred lines of code. So they can be very small and they can be very isolated from the main core of RAPIO. So last thing would be where to get it. And as here you can do git clone and HTTPS. And you get the RAPIO builder, which gives you the basic building ability. And then you also have, you want the actual code itself, you can clone it out. But the builder will also clone that out for you if you want. So you can use the builder to create a container to experiment with it, or you can actually build it on a Linux if you want. So anyway, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps, and we'll expand upon that later as we add more features.